Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The air in the dimly lit room was thick with warmth and the faint scent of vanilla candles. I could hear the soft hum of the rain outside, each drop seeming to echo the rhythm of my heartbeat. I wasn't supposed to be thinking about him like this, not with his father's name still fresh on my lips. But when he stepped closer, everything inside me stilled. "Are you okay?" he asked, voice low, uncertain. His tone carried something else too, curiosity, or maybe something he was trying hard to hide. I nodded, though my breath came out shaky. He was standing close enough that I could feel the heat of his body. My pulse skipped when his hand brushed mine, accidental, maybe, but it sent a spark straight through me. I pulled back slightly, though not far enough. My eyes met his, and the silence that followed was thick, charged, almost unbearable. He looked at me the way someone looks when they're trying to understand a feeling they shouldn't have. The way his jaw tensed, the flicker of guilt in his eyes, I saw all of it. And yet, I didn't move. A nervous laugh escaped my lips, and I tried to break the tension. "You shouldn't sneak up on people like that," I whispered, my voice softer than I intended. He smiled faintly, stepping even closer. "You were saying something," he murmured. "Something that sounded personal." My heart pounded so loud I was sure he could hear it. My throat tightened. I couldn't tell if it was from fear, embarrassment, or something far more complicated. Before I could explain, before I could even breathe properly, the door behind him creaked open, and in the silence that followed, everything froze. He turned slightly, his hand still resting near mine, and our eyes locked again, this time not with tension, but with the shock of being caught. Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. After that night, everything changed between us, in ways I couldn't explain, and even worse, couldn't control. He stopped calling me by name. It was always you now, always in that careful, measured tone, as if saying my name might reveal something neither of us were ready to face. His father and I had been distant for months before it happened. We had mastered the art of pretending, smiling for neighbors, holding hands in public, keeping up the illusion of warmth that had long gone cold. He was a good man, but love doesn't survive on goodness alone. There were silences at dinner, untouched coffee cups in the morning, the sound of him leaving earlier and earlier each day. And then there was him, my stepson. Quiet, observant, too mature for his age. He'd notice things his father never did, how tired I looked after long nights, how my hands trembled slightly when I tried to smile through exhaustion. He'd help without asking, his voice always gentle, his presence oddly grounding. I told myself it was harmless, that he was just being kind. But sometimes, kindness can burn in ways that cruelty never could. One afternoon, I found him fixing the garden light outside. The sun was setting, and the orange glow framed him like something out of a memory I shouldn't have. His shirt clung to him, streaked with dirt, and when he looked up and smiled, I felt my breath catch. I quickly turned away, pretending to check the flowers, pretending that my pulse wasn't racing. Inside, the house felt smaller every day, the hallways quieter, the distance between his father and me growing heavier. Yet whenever he was around, it was as if someone had opened a window after years of stale air. One evening, as I set the table, he reached for the same plate I did. Our hands brushed, brief, innocent, yet it lingered in my skin long after. His eyes flicked up to mine, searching, almost apologetic. I should have moved away. I didn't. Later that night, when his father sat across from me, talking about work, I couldn't focus. I could only hear the echo of that touch, the warmth, the question it carried. There were moments when I caught him looking at me, not inappropriately, but deeply, as if he wanted to understand what I was hiding. And maybe that was what scared me most. Because what I was hiding wasn't anger, it was longing. a longing that had nowhere to go. Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The silence between us had turned into something dangerous, like the moment before lightning strikes. Every time we crossed paths, I could feel it building, that mix of guilt, attraction, and something darker neither of us dared to name. It started small, glances that lingered too long, small touches that meant too much. But one night, it changed. His father had left on another business trip, the kind that usually ended with excuses and unanswered calls. I was in the kitchen, trying to distract myself with the sound of boiling water and the clatter of dishes, when I felt his presence behind me. He didn't say a word at first. Just stood there, close enough that I could sense his breath brush against my neck. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might drop the cup in my hand. "You shouldn't be up this late," I whispered, trying to sound calm, but my voice trembled. "I couldn't sleep," he said softly, stepping closer. "You seem like you couldn't either." I turned, and for a moment, we just looked at each other, too long, too openly. The tension in his eyes wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was want. Real, dangerous want. "You should go," I said, though even I didn't believe my own words. My hand brushed the counter, my breath shallow. He tilted his head slightly, studying me, like he could see right through the walls I'd built. "He doesn't look at you the way I do," he murmured, almost to himself. That line, those few words, cut deeper than they should have. Because he was right. His father hadn't looked at me that way in years. Before I could respond, thunder rolled outside, shaking the windows. For a second the lights flickered, and instinctively, I stepped closer, into the warmth of him, into the danger of it all. The moment stretched, hanging by a thread. If he reached for me, if I didn't stop him, everything would change. Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The next evening, the storm had passed, but inside the house, the tension was louder than thunder. His father still hadn't returned. The walls seemed to echo with everything unsaid, everything we were both trying to bury. I told myself I'd stay in my room that night, keep things normal. But when I heard a soft knock on my door, my resolve shattered. He stood there, hesitant, hair damp from the shower, eyes searching mine as if asking for permission to speak. "The power's out again," he said quietly. "Mind if I stay here for a while? It's cold downstairs." I should have said no. I should have closed the door. But instead, I stepped aside. The candlelight flickered between us, painting gold on his face. The shadows danced on the walls, slow and uncertain, just like our breathing. He sat on the edge of the couch while I stood near the window, pretending to look out, pretending not to notice how close he was. "You've been quiet lately," he said, voice low. "Avoiding me?" "I'm trying to do the right thing," I replied. He gave a faint, pained smile. "Then why does it feel wrong when you're not around?" I turned, and in that instant, the distance between us disappeared. His words hung heavy in the air, raw, honest, dangerous. I wanted to tell him to stop, but every nerve in my body screamed otherwise. The flicker of the candle caught in his eyes, and for a moment everything slowed, the air, the silence, the beating of my heart. He stood up, taking one slow step closer, then another. My back brushed against the cold glass of the window as his shadow fell over mine. The world outside was quiet, but inside, it was chaos. Our eyes locked, and neither of us could pretend anymore. His hand rose halfway, trembling, as if he wanted to touch me but was afraid of what that meant. The storm might have ended outside, but inside, it was just beginning. And then, the sound of keys turning in the front door broke the silence. My breath caught. His eyes widened. Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The sound of the key turning was like a gunshot. I froze where I stood, my back against the window, candlelight trembling between us. His father was home. The man I had promised loyalty to, the man who once made my heart race the way his son now did. He took a quick step back, his breathing uneven. "What do we do?" he whispered. "Nothing," I managed to say, voice barely holding together. "You go to your room. Now." He hesitated, eyes full of conflict, of something that couldn't be undone. But before either of us could move, the door creaked open, and there he was. My husband. He looked tired, rain still dripping from his coat. "Power's out again," he muttered, shutting the door behind him. His eyes swept the room, the candles, the closeness, the charged silence. I could see his jaw tighten. "What's going on here?" The question hung like smoke. I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "We were just talking." The storm knocked the power again. But his gaze stayed fixed, not on me, but on his son. The tension between them filled the room like electricity. Then he said it, voice sharp as glass, "Talking? That what you call it?" His son straightened. "You're never here," he shot back. "You don't see what's happening to her, what you've done to her." "Watch your tone," his father snapped, stepping closer. I moved between them instinctively, my hands trembling. "Stop. Please." But it was too late. The truth was clawing its way out. "She deserves better than being treated like she doesn't exist," he said, his voice breaking. "You don't even look at her anymore." His father's eyes turned on me, betrayal and disbelief colliding in one look. "Is that true?" The room felt like it was spinning. I wanted to speak, to explain that it wasn't what it seemed, that I'd never meant for things to get this far. But the silence between us spoke louder than any words ever could. Tears stung my eyes as I finally whispered, "I just wanted to feel seen again." The words hit like thunder. His father stepped back, as if I'd struck him. The candle flickered, the room shuddered under the weight of the truth. Then, without another word, he turned and walked out, leaving behind the echo of a life that had just shattered. I stood frozen, my heart breaking in two directions, one toward guilt, the other toward something I could no longer deny. Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The silence that followed his father's departure was deafening. The slam of the door still echoed through the house, a painful reminder of everything that had just unraveled. I stood frozen, my chest tight, my hands trembling as the candlelight flickered across the broken pieces of our lives. He stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean for it to happen like that." I turned toward him, eyes still wet with tears. "But it did happen. You told him things that can't be taken back." My voice cracked, anger and guilt twisting together. "You've destroyed whatever was left of this family." He flinched, guilt flooding his expression. "He already destroyed it, long before tonight. You just didn't want to see it." His words hurt, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. For so long, I had been clinging to a marriage that existed only in memory. And in trying to keep it alive, I'd lost myself in the spaces between loneliness and longing. I sank into the couch, covering my face with my hands. "Do you realize what this means? He'll never forgive either of us. This, whatever this was, it ends here." He knelt in front of me, his voice trembling. "Don't call it whatever this was. You know it's more than that." I looked at him, really looked, and saw everything he was holding back: love, guilt, fear. The kind of emotion that doesn't come from impulse, but from something painfully real. But love, no matter how real, doesn't always come at the right time. "You need to leave," I whispered. "Go to your room, pack your things." When he comes back, I'll handle the rest. He stood slowly, his eyes glistening. You're pushing me away because it's easier than admitting what we both feel. I shook my head, tears falling freely now. I'm pushing you away because I have to. Because if I don't, we'll ruin more than just one life. The words hung in the air, heavy and final. He took a step back, then another. But before turning to leave, he said softly, you can lie to him. You can even lie to yourself. But I know what I saw in your eyes tonight. When he was gone, the house felt colder, emptier than it ever had before. The rain had stopped, but my heart was still storming. I closed my eyes, whispering to the silence, I just wanted peace, not love that burns everything it touches. But deep down, I knew peace would never come easily again.